TG Geeks, episode 393, August 29th, 2022. It was great then, but does it hold up now? Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the two gay geeks, talk about all aspects of Geek-dom and Nerd-ery, sci-fi, comics, film, horror, genre. You name it, we talk about it. I'm Keith Lane, and we're coming to you from TG Squared Studios in lovely Phoenix, Arizona.
And I'm Ben Raggington, coming to you from what feels like phlegmy Phoenix.
Phlegmy Phoenix.
That's only because I got some crap that I'm dealing with respiratory wise. Sorry. So if you hear me clearing my voice, I deeply apologize. Yes, here in Phoenix, Arizona.
Well, let's get on with it.
Prepare for hyperdrive.
Meanwhile, in the Hall of Episodes, the two gay geeks are discussing this.
Well, in this episode, it's going to be the two of us, and we are going to talk about various things that have been on the rewatch list and are currently on the rewatch list, and how do they hold up versus the first time that we watched them. And I just got an email that my McAfee's antivirus is out of date, and I need to buy for $300.
You better click on that link now.
Click on that link now, Maria. Anyway, yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Inside joke.
Yeah. And a regular birthday shout-outs and featured podcast of the week. Got some feedback this week.
I got some good feedback.
Regular shout-outs in the second segment. We might have something to talk about. And then the Wacky Weekly recap as well as our regular shout-out. So we're just going to get right to it.
I kind of like that first one only because it's like a harbinger of the cooler weather's yet to come. Yeah, it's very Halloween-y.
Halloweeny?
Yeah, Halloween-y. It helps me to think of cooler weather to come.
Cooler weather to come. Well, we're going to talk about a couple of things that, you know, we've watched. We've watched several of them several times. And do they still hold up? Let's start with...
Oh, the perennial.
The perennial, yes. We always seem to be in some phase of rewatching this, and that's Star Trek The Next Generation.
Well, we only say phase of rewatching because... we started rewatching this thing over a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, we
watched like maybe 4 episodes a month.
Yeah, sometimes more. You never know, but it's kind of the thing to watch. Let's watch an episode of Next Generation as we eat breakfast, or as we do this, or as we do something else.
Yeah, you know, that's funny. Why aren't we mainlining this? Like, because I remember, I think. You were the one who suggested, after we saw the documentary on Deep Space Nine, you kind of thought, you know, why don't we do a rewatch of DS9? And we were like hitting every night on that. And then we thought, well, let's do Voyager. So we then did Voyager, and then we did Enterprise. And then I said, in for a penny, in for a pound, let's go back and do Next Gen. And we have not been doing that. I mean, we've been watching it like maybe once or twice a week at best. And it's like, why aren't we hitting this one as strongly? And I wonder if if there isn't something to that
maybe
falls
because
within this
it's
question.
Like the 6th time we watched the series.
Maybe, but there are still some episodes that we come across that I thought, well, I have not watched this thing in a very long time, and I think there's a good reason why I've not watched this thing in a long time.
Several of them It's like, oh God, do I really need to watch that episode?
And so that kind of does fall in this. Does it hold up?
Some of the episodes, yes.
Some hold up very well. I think there are others that I just would love to jettison out of the canon and say, I never need to see this thing again.
Yep, just
yeah,
right out of there.
Eject. And I'm not saying that to be overly critical of Next Gen. I mean, keep in mind, this was, and I'm not including the animated series, the first animated series,
right?
And I'm not including, obviously, the attempts, when they revisited the original cast with the movies. I mean, this is the first serious attempt to bring Star Trek back to television.
Right.
Something that fans have been clamoring for and just wanting to eat up. And yeah, for a show that was brought back, I should say for a franchise that was brought back, yeah, we digested every bit of it. We couldn't wait to see more and more and more.
Even the crap episodes.
Even the crap episodes.
The first time.
Even the crap episodes. And there were quite a few that were just awful. However, does that raises the question? Does this as a series hold up? I love the series, but I think I love the series more for reasons of nostalgia.
Interesting. There are some really good episodes.
There are some great episodes. Don't get me wrong. There are some fabulous ones.
Yeah. But I think it, for the most part, does hold up in the Star Trek canon, as with, original series.
Oh, okay. I'll give you that. For the most part, yeah, I guess it does hold up. When you phrase it like that, yeah, it does.
I mean, certainly now high definition and, the 85-inch screen that we have in high definition and, 400,000p, or whatever.
Yeah, the poor Worf's makeup. Ouch.
And some of the
sets.
Some of the set, it's like, holy crap, that's just
okay. I can see
that's a piece of plywood on a 2x4 frame
that's being held together by spray painted duct tape.
Exactly.
And I see it wrinkling right there in the corner. Owie.
Exactly. But that is the nature of technology and where it's gone.
Yeah, I can't fault them.
You can't fault them for that. They
I
did
can't.
What they needed to do for the technology that they had at the time to look good on television.
Yeah, and I remember when we were working for Slice, got to interview Roger Lay, who was a key figure in getting his hands on the original prints for Star Trek Next Gen, and then having those remastered for what was going to be 1080 at the time. And even then, as glorious as it looked, then you started seeing all the flaws. But yeah, you're right. We had to forgive it because at that time, we didn't know. Well, actually,
I mean, look at original series.
Should have known. We should have known because high def was already happening. I think if I remember my history right, high definition was already starting to take place in other parts of the world, but not here in the U.S. And of course, it's only television. Who's gonna want to remember all that? Blah blah blah.
Right.
Yeah, a little short-sightedness of studio execs, but that's not the fault of the show.
Exactly.
And so I will forgive a lot of that production stuff, but every once in a while, it is really hard to not stare at Worf's nose
or to stare at some of the. I was looking at some of the doorways one day. Somebody was standing in front of a doorway, and you could see that the casing that they used around the doorways was not caulked all the way and not smoothed out, and it was just like it was blinding me. I missed the whole scene because it was distracting me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this was a series, and keep in mind, the production of the series also was that they were making episodes while that season was running.
Exactly. So it was like, boom, 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 let's get it done.
Then
we have a script run through on Monday, and we're blocking on Tuesday, and
right.
Doing this on Wednesday and Thursday afternoon and Friday morning we're shooting.
And then we have to send it off to get the episode scored and get the visual effects done. And that's why you kept getting these periodical, you get these breaks in the season.
Or you get a clip show.
Or you get a clip show, please. No more clip shows. But no, that's why you get that break. So that could give them a chance to kind of catch up. And we don't have that now. They managed to get an entire season, with Paramount Plus. An entire season is filmed, finished, in the can by the time episode 1.
In the can for 6 months.
Yeah.
By the time it's
By
aired.
the time that first episode airs on Paramount Plus, everything is done. So we don't have any of that. You don't have those considerations, and I think the production values for the newer shows are phenomenal. But that's not this conversation. It still comes back to, does it hold up? If you can overlook the era,
Yeah.
because I think that's really what this boils down to.
And
is the era.
the science of the time, and you have to take that into consideration.
Well, that's why
as well.
I'm lumping that all into the era.
Yeah.
We're talking mid to late 80s. You take that, and look at Next Gen through that lens, that this is a mid to late 80s series. And when you're forced to do that, you have to give it a lot of latitude.
Yeah, because we're 40 years almost separated from the beginning of the series.
Right.
And the jump in technology and science and
How many years of the original series, you said?
Probably 40.
Coming up on 50.
No, 1980.
Original series.
No, not original.
Next Gen.
Next Gen.
Okay.
Next Gen. 40 years.
Yeah, you're right.
Next Gen.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, we're within 4 years.
Yeah.
Or 5 years.
So
anyway,
yeah, you have to kind of give it that bit of forgiveness. And I think if you do that, if you make allowances, and I think that's also a fair question. When you ask, does it hold up? Now, granted, I think there are going to be some other shows that will do a far better job at holding up than others, but you still have to take that into account. And if you do that, then yeah, I would say Next Gen does hold up, albeit a little unevenly.
Yeah, in spots. So that's Next Gen. What about Stargate SG-1?
Wow. Man, and here's where I have to really ask myself the question. Am I really hanging on to this one for reasons of nostalgia?
Well, there's some stinker episodes in the first couple of seasons,
yeah,
but then it got really good.
Well, it started to get really good when they began to embrace the world building, I think.
Right.
In the beginning, when it was simply just a procedural, ouch. Oh, man, there were some dogs that I can never watch again.
But
wouldn't miss them.
It's a fun series, though.
I think for the most part, well, especially after the first year when they actually, I remember I was seeing an interview with, I can't remember his name now, the star of the series who plays Jack.
Richard Dean Anderson.
Yeah, Richard Dean Anderson, right. Yeah, his name just went right out of my head. I remember they kept that baggage on him that Kurt Russell's portrayal had, and that's the accidental shooting death of his son, and that really just cast a very dark tone over the series. And then, I mean, every once in a while they did try to go for some lightheartedness, but it's still, Jack was a very brooding character.
Yeah,
and
but
then
when they unleashed him,
they finally they did a really good episode in which Jack was able to reconcile himself to his son's passing.
Right,
and I remember reading an interview with Richard Dean Anderson where he said that was for him a turning point in which he could go into a new direction. Another one for Michael Shanks as Daniel. When we first see him, he's kind of got the long hair like we saw in the movie, played by I don't remember his name is anyway. I don't want to remember his name. But when he got to like get rid of that and then jettison all of that acting characteristic that we saw in the film, then Michael Shanks was able to bring in his own take on Daniel. And then of course everybody else is new, or they're relatively new characters, so they were fresh as far as the series goes. But once those two changes were made,
and the Jaffa Cakes,
yeah,
Oh, that's Jaffa cakes.
Jaffa cakes, yes. Once those changes were made, I think that's when the series truly began to take off and just take on a true life of its own. And it's funny because I remember reading interviews with the guy, the producers of the movie, and saying that they were going to do this sequel, this big talked about sequel to the original Stargate film. And for a time, they had said that, oh yes, this is it's all going to fit nice and neatly within, even though we're going to bring back the original cast, yes, it's still going to be part of the same unit. And then they changed their tune. Totally changed their tune on that.
Yeah. Said,
no, this is a separate universe. It's not the same thing. That's the SG-1, that's his own timeline. Stargate the movie, it's his own timeline, and well, obviously that didn't go anywhere. Yeah. But I think that's also a testament to what SG-1 was able to do. And
right.
once you got into, I think, like seasons 3 and 4,
right,
then the series definitely holds up.
Exactly.
In a huge way.
I think it's a great series. And that later on, in the later seasons was incredible storytelling. So
yes, absolutely. I mean, even though we we saw Richard Dean Anderson's character leave and someone else was brought in, I still think the storytelling was fantastic, and there was some great science fiction in there.
Yeah,
I mean, it made it, and some really good cautionary tales as well. So yeah, I definitely think SG-1, not at first, but eventually it does reach a point where it definitely holds up, and I'm eagerly looking forward to us getting to that part of the show.
Exactly.
We're still pretty early on in the rewatch, but I'm very excited to get to that part to see, and then to just start digesting all these episodes, because I've been talking all this time. What do you think?
Well, I've said it. Let's move on to Grimm.
Okay.
Grimm. Yes.
Now
I think it holds up.
Oh yeah, it's funny. I know we did a rewatch on this not that long ago, and the only
I love that show.
I love this series, and
it's
the only reason
good.
The only reason I'm having kind of a hankering is because I belong to a Grimm Facebook group, and we're all talking about Grimm, and I'm thinking, God, I think I want to watch that show again.
There was so much story left to tell at the end of the series.
Oh, it was such a beautiful show.
There was so much story left to tell before they did the last episode.
Yeah.
They just kind of...
They had to truncate it.
There we are,
they had
20
to cut
years
it short.
later,
They had to cut the darn thing short. And I don't know if that was a decision because NBC decided they were only giving you X number of stories to finish. And they did more or less wrap it up to a relatively satisfying conclusion.
Relatively.
But yeah, there's a heck of a lot more stories to tell. But I think for me, one of the reasons that this series holds up, well, there's several. One, it's beautiful to look at.
Right. Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
The Pacific Northwest is just,
and
Vancouver for SG-1.
From Portland all the way up to Vancouver, there is some gorgeous cinematography. And I just like the way they filmed it. They got some really rich colors into it, so it's pretty to look at. But then, what a cast!
Oh my gosh, yeah. Just the cast is incredible. I mean, they have this recurring cast throughout the entire series that really become a family.
And they become more than family. They become a Scooby gang.
Exactly. And I think it's wonderful. And, it's interesting to see all of the different quote unquote monsters, shall we say, and all of the different ways that they've portrayed them and, take care of them and,
That's the other thing. I love the lore and the treatment of the lore. It may not be accurate. I don't really care because I think the storytelling and how they fold that lore into the storytelling is so incredibly strong that it just makes it a joy to watch.
Yeah.
And so, in my opinion, there is no question. Grimm holds up, and I think
we may have to watch it again.
I'm aiming that. I want to get a couple of other shows done before we take that one on again. But yeah, I definitely want to hit Grimm one more time because that, it's a fantastic series and it's just so much fun to watch.
Then we have our perennial.
Oh God, another one.
The West Wing, which continues to.
This is our
be
third.
prescient.
This is our third rewatch.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked endlessly about West Wing, and it's amazingly prescient to, some of the
It's so
episodes
relatable.
are so relatable to today, and just there's some things that are a little outdated, but you have to take that with a grain of salt.
Again, you got to look at it through the lens of
we're
of
25 years from this.
I think we're watching episodes that were done like 2002, 2003.
So
now
we're 20 years.
We're
now.
20 years out of date. And I don't want to say out of date. We're 20 or so years into the future from that time. So yes, this is another series. You've got to look at it through the lens of the very early 21st century. And if you can do that, you can then forgive a lot of these things that you're seeing there. But you've got some fantastic story, and I think
and some politics, and how politics works, and how Washington works, and how the White House works.
That's what I'm really fascinated with. It's the working, the mechanics in all of it.
And you have former White House staff from both sides that are consultants and scriptwriters for that series. So they were there,
So they can provide all the necessary insight. And then let's talk about production value.
Oh, my gosh. Incredible.
It's amazing. In fact, now it's so strong, you think that they filmed the entire series in D.C., and they didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they did a lot of exterior shots.
Right.
When they're walking around D.C., you see the monuments behind them. I mean, this is before, technology like, green screen. Well, we had green screen, but it didn't look quite that good. But this is like before, the big wall that Paramount uses, for their Star Trek properties, or what Disney uses for their Star Wars stuff. They didn't have that. Now, if that technology, if that had existed back when they made it, they wouldn't have had to go to DC.
Exactly.
They probably would have filmed the whole thing in Canada.
Exactly.
How ironic is that?
But West Wing is, we're.
But for the most part, they filmed that series. All the interior shots are done. They were done in L.A., in Hollywood.
Yep.
And what I think is amazing,
they built these sets that were
so
incredible.
amazing.
Yeah.
That I read some trivia that they actually had to stop when studio tours were going on. They actually had to not include the West Wing set because it was so accurate. That they didn't want to give some nefarious folks bad ideas to be able to scope out the place. I mean, but that speaks to the quality of the show. So I think the production of the series is fantastic, and then again you got to come back to the cast.
Oh yeah, the cast is incredible.
They're just amazing. So yeah, the West Wing definitely holds up. And then lastly, a little levity here. That we've watched countless times. And again, and again. And we keep coming back to this one multiple times a year.
Because it's just
that good.
The Vicar of Dibley. If you have not seen
got to watch this
show, look it up. I know it's on BritBox. I think it's a couple of other places you can find it. But, oh, my God, this is... It's a bit outdated. I mean, in time-wise.
Yeah.
But
it still holds up.
The humor is just... and it's typical British humor.
Very.
And it oh, my gosh. I don't know how we ever managed to not hear about it.
It was that classmate of yours.
Before we watched it.
Yeah. Well, I remember when we went back to your high school reunion and we were hanging with that classmate of yours. I can't remember his name.
Mark Whitman.
Yeah, Mark. And he was the one who said, because we started talking about British comedy and said, have you seen Vicar of Dibley? And you and I are like,
Dawn French.
Dawn French. I had heard of her. I'd seen her on Graham Norton, but I had never seen French and Saunders. So I didn't know anything about her per se. I just saw her on Graham Norton and thought she was hilarious. And then to see her now as the vicar.
Oh my gosh. it's this little village that the vicar passes away because he's,
he's a dinosaur.
175.
Yeah.
And then the Archbishop of Canterbury assigns a woman vicar to this tiny village.
Yeah, that's that. The head of the local parish is this like
parish council.
He's like a card carrying Tory. I mean, he is so conservative. And then you've got all this total. I mean, I don't know what word to use except this insane asylum of people who live there. They're just nuts.
And all of the foibles and the stuff going on.
I'm thinking of Mrs. Cropley, who could not cook to save her life.
Oh, well, she could.
She just chose to be eccentric with her cooking. I mean, she made pancakes, and then she decided to, with a hint of liver in them. Oh God.
Vicar of Dibley, look it up. The first episode, or if you can find any episode, they're kind of standalone, but
mostly
you really need to see.
You will see callbacks here and there. That just if you watch it all the way through, the callbacks are even more rewarding.
Yes,
but yeah, and you do need to see it you need to at least see the first episode before you jump around.
Yep. So that's our Does It Hold Up?
Hey guys, my name's TG Edgley. I play Tiana on Farscape, and I'm the host of Jim Henson's Creature Shop Challenge, and you're listening to the Two Gay Geeks. Big love.
And that's a show that deserves a rewatch.
Yes. And here are a few selected birthdays for, August 29th through September 4th. August 29th. John Locke was an English philosopher and physician, widely regarded as one of the most influential of Enlightenment thinkers and commonly known as the father of liberalism. Considered one of the first of the British empiricists following the tradition of Sir Francis Bacon, Locke is equally important to the social contract theory. His work greatly affected the development of epistemology and political philosophy. Wow,
that's a mouthful.
Yeah. His writings influenced Voltaire and Jean-Jacques Rousseau and many Scottish Enlightenment thinkers, as well as the American revolutionaries. His contributions to classical republicanism and liberal theory are reflected in the United States Declaration of Independence. Internationally, Locke's legal principles continue to have a profound influence on the theory and practice of limited representative government and the protection of basic rights and freedoms under the rule of law. Something we need to remember. That's my soapbox for the moment. And then we have Temple Grandin, or Mary Temple Grandin, is an American scientist, academic, and animal behaviorist. She is a prominent proponent for the humane treatment of livestock for slaughter and the author of more than 60 scientific papers on animal behavior. Grandin is a consultant to the livestock industry where she offers advice on animal behavior, and she is also an autism spokesperson. Grandin is one of the first autistic people to document the insights she gained from her personal experience of autism. She is currently a faculty member with Animal Sciences in the College of Agricultural Sciences at Colorado State University. Grandin has been an outspoken proponent for autism rights and neurodiversity movements. And we also have Melanie Brockman-Schultz.
I love her.
And Camden Campbell, friend of ours, and two people that you may know.
My brothers.
Daniel Hughes
twins.
And Mark Hughes, the twins. Happy birthday. August 30th, Ernest Rutherford was a New Zealand physicist who came to be known as the father of nuclear physics. Encyclopedia Britannica considers him to be the greatest experimentalist since Michael Faraday. Apart from his work in his homeland, he spent a substantial amount of his career abroad in both Canada and the United Kingdom. In early work, Rutherford discovered the concept of radioactive half-life, the radioactive element radon, and differentiated and named alpha and beta radiation. He performed the first artificially induced nuclear reaction in 1917 in experiments where nitrogen nuclei were bombarded with alpha particles. As a result, he discovered the emission of a subatomic particle, which in 1919 he called the hydrogen atom, but in 1920 he more accurately named the proton.
Far out. That makes me wonder, what gives a scientist the idea, that germ of an idea that says, let me try this.
Let's do this.
Just because.
Exactly.
And say, hey, I've discovered something.
Let's smush this frog with a stick or whatever,
Well,
to borrow
not
a
like
line,
that.
To borrow a line from Guardians of the Galaxy, they smushed him with a stick. Robert Crumb is an American cartoonist and musician who often signs his work R. Crumb. His work displays a nostalgia for American folk culture of the late 19th and 20th century and satire of contemporary American culture. Crumb is a prolific artist and contributed to many of the seminal works of the underground comics, COMIX movement in the 1960s, including being a founder of the first successful underground comics publication, Zap Comics. And then we have a friend of ours, Kelly Webb. And August 31st, Hermann von Helmholtz was a German physicist and physician who made significant contributions in several scientific fields. The largest German association of research institutions, the Helmholtz Association, is named after him. In physiology and psychology, he is known for his mathematics of the eye, theories of vision, ideas of the visual perception of space, color vision research, and on the sensation of tone, perception of sound, and empiricism in the physiology of perception. In physics, turning to physics now,
got it.
He is known for his theories of the conservation of energy, work in electrodynamics, chemical thermodynamics, and on a mechanical foundation of thermodynamics. Blah. Alan J. Lerner was an American lyricist and librettist. In collaboration, he was Lerner and Lowe, not Lerner and Rowe.
Local law firm.
Local law firm. In collaboration with Frederick Lowe and later Burton Lane, he created some of the world's most popular and enduring works of musical theater, both for the stage and on film. He won 3 Tony Awards and 3 Academy Awards, among other honors. In association with Frederick Lowe, he wrote My Fair Lady.
Ah, yes.
And then we have Itzhak Perlman. I just put him on here because he needs to be on
because it's Itzhak Perlman.
Exactly. And then we have a former co-worker of mine, Hillary Cheeley, and a filmmaker of a friend of ours, Russell Emanuel.
Happy birthday,
Russ. September 1st, Lily Tomlin is an actress, comedian, writer, singer, and producer. She started her career as a stand-up comedian, as well as performing off-Broadway during the 60s. Her breakout role was on the variety show Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In from 1969 to 1973.
I fell in love with Ernestine.
Yes. Her signature role was written by her then partner, now wife, Jane Wagner, in a show titled The Search for Signs of Intelligent Life in the Universe, which opened on Broadway in 1985 and won Tomlin the Tony Award for Best Lead Actress in a Play. Emanuel Schikaneder was a German impresario, dramatist, actor, singer, and composer. He wrote the libretto for Mozart's opera, The Magic Flute, and was the builder of the Theater an der Wein. Peter Branscombe called him one of the most talented theater men of his era. Aside from Mozart, he worked with Salieri, Haydn, and Beethoven.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep.
Interesting.
And I put somebody on my list, but not on your list. And hold your thought before you say anything.
Okay.
I put Dr. Phil on here. even though the man makes me crazy. And I only put him on here because as I was scrolling down through the birthdays, I noticed that he was born in Veneta, Oklahoma.
Oh.
Now, if you're from Oklahoma and of a certain age, you used to refer to Veneta as the crazy place because that's where the state mental institution was.
Got it. So it's not so much about Phil, it's about where he's born.
Exactly. Exactly. September 2nd, Krista McAuliffe. I will never not put her on the list.
Oh, yes. Every year.
Every year. Was an American teacher and astronaut from Concord, New Hampshire, who was killed on the Space Shuttle Challenger on mission STS-51L, where she was serving as a payload specialist. In 1985, McAuliffe was selected from more than 11,000 applicants to the NASA Teacher in Space program and was scheduled to become the first teacher to fly in space.
It was such big news when her name was pulled out of the hat.
Yep, exactly. As a member of the mission STS-51L, she was planning to conduct experiments and teach 2 lessons from
space.
Challenger.
I know. God,
Yeah.
My heart breaks
Sad.
for her family, and it breaks for her students.
Yeah.
They must have been traumatized at this because they were watching the launch from their classroom.
Yep. Then we have William T. Dillard, was an American businessman. He was the founder of Dillard's department store chain. One of his first stores outside of Texas, because he had started in Arkansas, opened a bunch of stores in Texas, and then opened a store in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Ah.
And I remember Dillard's, I mean, it was a huge thing in Oklahoma. Dillard's department store.
Oh,
It's a huge thing, period.
Yeah, I mean, I had never heard of Dillard's. We didn't have it in California.
We don't have California, the Northwest, and the Northeast.
But when I moved to Arizona, it was the very first time I saw it, and I moved here in '91, and by that point, at that time, Dillard's was like up there with Montgomery Ward's or JCPenney's at their heyday.
And all of that. In fact, they absorbed a bunch of Montgomery Ward's, what was left of Monkey Ward's.
Monkey Ward's, yeah. Yes. I remember hearing something about that.
Yep. The largest Dillard's is located in Scottsdale Fashion Square, 365,000 square feet.
No kidding.
Yep.
I actually didn't know that. I was just there a week ago.
Yep. And then we have a friend of ours, Scott Tyler, on September 2nd. September 3rd, Valerie Perrine.
Love her.
Is an American actress and model for her, remembered for her role as Honey Bruce in the 1974 film Lenny. She won the BAFTA Award for Most Promising Newcomer to Leading Film Roles, the Cannes Film Festival Award for Best Actress, and was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Actress. Her other film appearances include Superman,
Oh, yes.
The Electric Horseman, and Superman 2.
I also remember her in Slaughterhouse 5. Fabulous movie, and she was really good in that.
Yep. Carl David Anderson was an American physicist. He is best known for his discovery of the positron in 1932, an achievement for which he received the 1936 Nobel Prize in Physics, and of the muon in 1936. And then we have a friend of ours, Ethan Gold, and Kim, and she goes by Kim MK on Facebook, but that's for McGurk Clintobe. And then we have a friend of ours, Mark Biaggi, who you'll hear in just a few minutes. September 4th, Anton Bruckner was an Austrian composer, organist, and music theorist, best known for his symphonies, masses, Te Deum, and motets. The first are considered emblematic of the final stage of the Austro-German Romanticism because of their rich harmonic language, strongly polyphonic character, and considerable length. Bruckner's compositions helped to define contemporary musical radicalism owing to their dissonances, unprepared modulations, and roving harmonies. And then we have Jason David Frank, American actor and mixed martial artist who is notable for his career as Tommy Oliver, the Green Ranger, from the Power Rangers franchise.
It was a Green Ranger, then became the White Ranger.
Yeah,
He was all over the map.
It was
all
set
over the
for
spectrum.
the 14 episodes, and due to the popularity of the character, he was brought back as the White Ranger and the new leader of the team.
And he kept coming back in future Power Ranger shows, and I'm actually glad he did because
Mauve Ranger.
Well, no, but
and the Chartreuse Ranger.
no, he actually didn't. It's not later episodes. He didn't actually play a Ranger. He played like, how can I say it? He's sort of like the not a team leader, but he's like a counselor, saying, "Okay, guys, this is what you need to do," and then he would let the Power Rangers do their thing, which then led to some fantastic world building in the entire Power Rangers series, which I thought was actually a very good idea, and it's all because of him.
Interesting. And he was the reason that Phoenix Comic-Con was evacuated a couple of years ago.
Yep, and we have new security rules because some maniac wanted to hurt the guy.
Yep. And that's it for the birthdays this time.
Technorama, the podcast for geeks, because geeks are better than cool. You don't hear someone say, "Get away from me, you cool person." Who's gonna have their 65-inch home theater system installed by the Cool Squad? Not me, that's for sure. How much cool cred do you have? Not enough to care about. Think you'll find any canned unicorn meat at thinkcool.com? It's just a part domain name. They don't even have roadkill in a paper cup. That's why you need to start listening to Technorama, because that's what geeks do. Go to chuckchat.com and listen to Technorama before you turn cool.
Go give a listen to our friends Chuck and Craig over at Technorama Podcast.
I'm Daniel Radcliffe, and I believe that reaching out for help is the bravest thing a person can do. If you are struggling and need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. It's free and confidential, and trained counsellors are there to listen 24/7 without judgment. To learn more about the Trevor Project's life-saving work for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or questioning young people, go to thetrevorproject.org.
And it's time for our feedback. These are comments that we received in response mostly to articles and episodes that we ran on our website at tggeeks.com. And the links for each of these, in this case only one, will be in the show notes for this episode number 393 at tggeeks.com. And I say that because we're going to open with just this general comment that we received out of the blue from our dear friend Patricia Chica. And
We love Patricia.
We love Patricia. She sent this several weeks ago. She sent this on August 7th. I have some great news to share. My beloved friends and collaborators Keith Lane and Ben Raginson of the TG Geeks are flying to San Jose, California to attend the world premiere of Montreal Girls at CineQuest Film Festival. I'm so happy, touched, and filled with gratitude for their presence and support. Now, yes, if you follow us, you already know. Yeah, that came and went. I mean, because we were there last weekend, our last episode, we talked about being there. But I bring this up because I was deeply moved by, just out of the blue, Patricia sharing that on social media.
Yeah.
Just to say that about us says a lot.
She's a truly great person and wonderful human being.
Yes, I just think the world of her. So now, moving on, regarding TG Geeks episode number 390, got a comment from Arkle. I love this one, and this one is very timely because just last night, while we were at dinner, we were just kvetching, over what's wrong with Warner Brothers. I don't want to say I may live to see the day when Warner Brothers, one of the most storied studios in the history of Hollywood, ceases to exist. But it doesn't bode well for the future of the company when the new guy in charge allegedly doesn't think horror movies can turn a profit when the Conjuring franchise alone has earned the studio over $1 billion in profit. Not just revenue, profit. The 8 films in that franchise, mainline and spin-offs, have a combined production budget that was less than the budget for Man of Steel. But what does the new guy include on his big PowerPoint slide with regards to successful franchises under the Warner Brothers umbrella? 90 Day Fiancé and Harry Potter.
What is a 90-day fiancé?
I don't know. I have no idea. The Conjuring is nowhere to be found. I am not a fan of those films. I strongly dislike how the movies serve to whitewash the reputations of a couple of real-life con artists. But from a purely financial standpoint, ... Ugh. I could probably run Warner Brothers better at this point, and I can barely keep a sub-Z-list YouTube channel afloat.
Exactly.
Arkle, I tip my hat to you. That
You said
was
a mouthful.
brilliant. And that is our feedback.
If you want to leave a comment, you can do so on our Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, or on YouTube, as Arkle has done. You can even comment at tggeeks.com on each episode and or article that we run, and you could receive a shout-out in a future episode. We also have a listener feedback line. We want to hear from you.
It's so moldy.
It's so moldy. Leave a voicemail, and we'll play it on air. And you can call 469-TG Geeks. That is 469-844-3357. And as always, please play nice.
For more than 2 decades, Judy and Dennis Shepard have honored their son Matt by working to erase hate around the world. The Matthew Shepard Foundation honors his legacy by inspiring the good work of activists, teachers, artists, and legislators, and everyday LGBTQ+ folks and their allies. Join us today in helping to erase hate. Visit MatthewShepard.org.
Thank you to Comcast NBC Universal for that promo. Well, as everybody knows, we are huge supporters of independent filmmakers, independent creators, whether they're filmmakers, comic book artists, writers, or others. Please, if you see them at a convention or you run across a website, check out their websites, their Etsy pages, their Facebook pages, wherever you can find them. Please chat them up, chat other people up about their stuff, buy their stuff. Please consider supporting independent creators. If you are trans or are questioning your gender identity, and if you are in crisis or are feeling isolated and need someone to talk to, or you know of someone in a similar situation, there is a special hotline just for you. The hotline is provided by translifeline.org and staffed by trained counselors who are transgender themselves. The hotline in the U.S. is 877-565-8860. In Canada, it is 877-330-6366. Or you can go to translifeline.org to learn about the important work they are doing. Please reach out for help. You are not alone.
Yeah, baby. They're like 2 gay geeks. They're together, you know. They're 2 gay guys and they're geeks. Is that okay?
Well, just a couple of things.
I'm actually glad you brought some of these up.
We'll just we'll hit on these just real high level because they're still
They're kind
airing,
of
but-
fresh, and we don't want to spoil anything.
exactly. Visit She-Hulk again.
Wow, I'm really enjoying this series.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It is
It's
a lot of fun. There's a
it's
certain
just
irreverence to
fun,
it.
Yeah.
It's an irreverent show, but never at the expense of the overall MCU, I think.
Right.
And in fact, when they acknowledge the MCU, I think it's done very seriously. But just the overall treatment of the character, the continual breaking of the fourth wall, that's my favorite bit.
The fourth dimension.
Fourth wall. It's
Fourth wall.
It's a very moonlighting thing. It's something that I get a big laugh out of. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy the series. It's great fun, and I'm sorry that people are like trashing on it, but I
Yeah.
like it.
Whatever. And then
So now, okay, I'm glad you brought this one up. Lower Decks.
Lower Decks. Yes.
I finally got you to watch.
you-
I forced you.
I twisted my arm. And it nearly fell off.
It was the season 3, episode 1. I had already seen it, and then I thought, oh, there's some bits here that I really wanted you to watch, even though you had stopped watching it after the first episode of season 1. Okay,
it was interesting, and yes, the send-ups and the various little callbacks were to various series and movies were incredible.
You almost choked on your dinner.
Yes, there was one. Yes, that
one bit that you choked. It was
oh
great.
My God!
They actually did that. But I think it's kind of important to take a look at it now because the characters of Boimler and Mariner, the 2 lead characters in that, are going to be in season 2 of Strange New Worlds. So it's kind of good to become more familiar with them.
Yep.
So that's going to be fascinating to see. But yeah, I'm happy that Lower Decks is on. I mean, now, granted, I hated it when it first started, but I think the show changed, and I'm loving it a great deal now.
I have to go back and watch it.
No, you don't have to. You really don't.
Anyway, so that's our second segment. And now Ben has our Wacky Weekly Recap.
Oh my God, I think my ears are bleeding now. Yes, it's time for the weekly review. These are the story items that we ran on our website at tggeeks.com this past week, and the links for each of these will be in the show notes portion of this episode article 393 that you can find at tggeeks.com. That will publish on Monday and will be shared on all the major social media platforms. Starting with Sunday, August 21st, Nerdy Chupacabras number 114. On Monday the 22nd, TG Geeks episode number 392. On Tuesday the 23rd, Ben's Breakdown, Montreal Girls is a crowning achievement for Patricia Chica. On Wednesday the 24th, Andrea's Angle, Breaking, Emotional and Commanding Acting. On Thursday the 25th, Andrea's Angle, 3,000 Years of Longing. It's the new movie with Idris Elba and Tilda Swinton. Vividly romantic. I'm very curious to see that now. On Friday the 26th, Hamish Downey's 5 Questions with Leilani Gee. And on Saturday the 27th, Disney Plus releases new trailer for Pinocchio, premiering September 9th. We have some shout-outs that we need to make. First to our good friend Arkle, who you heard some comments from a little bit earlier. Brian Weber. He's on Twitter as Geek of All Trades, and geek is spelled the letter 3. Oh, God, no. The letter G. Wow. I really messed that one. The letter 3 and the number G.
Yes, there you go.
Let me do that again. The letter G, the number 3, the number 3, the letter K, spell Geek of All Trades. He's also referred to as Brian the Ampersand List YouTuber, and we mention him because his Arkle Times Post-Dispatch News is back, which does republish some of our content from time to time. Also, while you're looking for all things Arkle, go to his YouTube channel. That will be youtube.com/Arkle Studios, and Arkle is spelled A-R-K-L-E. He has a number of projects there, and his Shameless Cash Grab Season 7 has come to a glorious conclusion. That's not to say that that's glorious, that it's over. It's just
a glorious concussion.
It's just, it came to a very strong conclusion. We must also give some shout-outs to a couple of Facebook groups for allowing us to post our episodes on relevant articles on their pages. First, Two Gay Geeks After Hours. Big thanks to the moderators for saying we could share away our content there. And their address is facebook.com/groups/Gay Geeks After Hours. And that Gay Geeks After Hours is one word. And then to The Gay Geek for pretty much the same thing. And their address is facebook.com/groups/The Gay Geek. And as always, we give special thanks to their moderator, Jeremiah Reeves.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Other places we can be found are Spotify and TuneIn, Stitcher, Amazon Podcasts, as well as where other fine podcasts can be found. Also, check us out on Sci-Fi Radio at 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. Pacific Time on Tuesdays for a replay of this episode. And listen to their other content. They are a 24-hour geeky internet radio station. Please rate us and review us on iTunes. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out the article for this webcast episode. We'll have several links on the page of things we talked about. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. From TG Squared Studios, I am Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. Live and be your authentic self, no matter what the world tells you. Please be kind to yourself and those around you. Stay safe, wear a mask, get vaccinated. Peace.
Cheers.